We love guitar nerds. I am happy to be interviewing and on the interwebs with Eric Wirsing of the band Solar Federation. Solar Federation, to my mind, and they're like, I never saw a better Rush tribute band, and a tribute band for that matter, because that's a hard thing. But to do the Rush stuff, even Rush knows it's hard. So we're going to talk about Rush. We're going to talk about all kinds of stuff. So Solar Federation, let's start with that. Because so when did it start? We don't need to. Yeah, give us a abbreviated history of it.
Well, it started about I think our first show was the end of 2015.
Okay.
And that was at Tellus 360. That was our first show, but we probably spent like maybe a year before that just getting together and getting enough songs together to play like a full show.
Right.
I mean, if you go back even further, I would say Fedge, our drummer, he's been a hardcore Rush fan for since he was a kid. Yep. Collects stuff. He's been to tons of concerts. He knows way more than any of us.
Anybody else, yes.
So he's probably been thinking about it for a long time. Right. I think he was working on some songs before we even got together to rehearse.
Right.
I know for me, I've always liked Rush. I remember trying to learn 2112, the suite.
Of course.
My later teens. And I liked them throughout the years, but it was the Time Machine tour. I went and saw that twice, actually. Once at the Giant Center and once at Jones Beach Amphitheater, which was beautiful. Mm-hmm. And I just was like, oh man, I need some of those songs I hadn't heard. And I was like,
right.
Oh, cool. Then I got on this Rush kick, and our friend Mike, who I think Mike Waskovich, mm-hmm. Both of us were like,
nerding out.
Yeah, and so he introduced Fedge and I at his like a wedding party he had at his house.
Well, like Fedge of July. You talking about Fedge of July?
No, that's at Fedge's house. This was at Mike Waskovich.
Oh, got it. Okay.
He was getting married at that time, so it was a party for that.
Okay.
It was an engagement party, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. So that's when Fedge and I first talked. I'd met Fedge back. I think we played with Herbie, which was his previous band.
Yeah.
ABC for like a New Year's Eve thing. So we'd run into each other, but I have to say, like, Fedge, he's probably one of the best drummers I played with. Like, I remember jamming with him once on like I think it was Free Will, and he could just make up the parts as he goes, even if he's not playing the exact needle.
Yeah.
He can just make it up and flow with it. Where, I mean, that's a sign of a very good drummer, So
yeah. And
of course, in the band he plays the exact parts, but
does he though?
I think he's.
I can't tell the difference, but it's like I wouldn't know what he's adding. In other words, if he adds stuff, I wouldn't know. I think he would do it in a way that it would be Neil-esque anyway.
Well, sometimes, I mean, if you kind of make a flub, you have to, instead of just going, oops, sorry, audience.
Right.
You just kind of put something in. But to the most part, I think we try to play as detailed as possible.
Right.
To Rush. Because it was always kind of, when I see a tribute band, I wanted to hear what I knew on the album, because that's what I'd been hearing my whole life, and that's what I want to see.
Right.
So that was kind of at least my approach, is I want to freak people out with, like, it's exactly like the album as much as humanly possible.
You're right. Now, when you do this, you do things, there is no tracks, or there is some tracks, I guess. Maybe when I say tracks, you play all the instruments.
Yeah.
There is the video. There's a light. Is the light show thought out? Is the whole thing explain to us what people can expect when they go see you guys?
Well, usually it depends on the venue, but usually we try to have the screen behind us because that's something that Rush always had at their concerts.
Yeah.
Fedge actually creates all those videos to go with each song, and he controls it.
Well, that was one of my questions.
Yeah, so he creates all those.
That's a labor of love.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, that's the biggest thing, man. Is we really enjoy doing it. So even if we didn't get to a point where we're seeing more people come to shows, like we just enjoy it. It's a challenge. It's fun, and that's really, I think, at the core of what drives you and keeps you going for a long time. But as far as tracks, our motto is, if Rush does it live, then I think it's okay for us to do it. So, like for example, there's a couple songs like Caravan. You can't recreate the intro for that.
Okay.
So you have to use tracks for different things.
Well, I don't even know how he would do like certain songs, even certain songs where the keyboard and the bass is real heavy and the keyboards are real dense. How do they do that live?
I think I know that Getty and Alex, there's to either side of them, there's dudes off of the stage who are making sure all of their tracks or sounds are queued up.
Okay.
I think as long as it remains sincere and you're not like there's some bands now in different genres who, like, in their in-ears, they get counted off to when they're supposed to.
Right.
Like, I think when it becomes insincere and
when it becomes a karaoke track, you're playing to a karaoke track.
Yeah.
Or you sound like a grumpy old man, but that drives me nuts.
Yeah, like we're Tom Sawyer, right? I play on that one the Taurus pedal track. Okay. I mean, so I'm like with my foot while I'm playing the guitar.
Right.
I'm pressing like, bow, 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 bow.
Right.
Mike's over there playing the keys, but sometimes we have to use our hands,
double up,
and our feet
right.
to do. But we try to be very careful about how much we don't like to overuse tracks or things like that. We try to keep it as organic as possible. But like, here's another example. The Necromancer, right? Mm-hmm. So I actually the intro that's going on before I come in with that, it's backwards guitar.
That's got to be a track. That's what I'm saying. That was the stuff I expect tracks to be. Yeah. And nobody's going to fault you for not having an orchestra with you.
Exactly. You can do that without
and
maybe to enhance different things. Like I think that there's a solo that it sounds dead if there's not the chords behind it, playing it. But the bottom line is, if Rush does it, I think it's okay. Right. I try to even make the mistakes that Alex makes, when I'm playing live.
Yeah. We'll talk later about that, because as I said, your approach is completely what I would consider. I respect. I can't do what you do, and you know this.
I can't do what you do, man.
So it's like, but this is so. Now, the other thing, from a guitar player's perspective, you decided to jump on a band that when they started out, they were kind of like Humble Pie, Led Zeppelin, early 70s rock and roll.
Yeah.
And then every album was a progression, which a lot of people can't say. A lot of bands can't say that they've progressed like that.
It's such a vast catalog and evolution over time.
What was the biggest challenges when you were just first starting out with these? Would you hit the low hanging fruit first when you guys got together?
I think we were.
Working Man is something I could handle. And I used to do what was it, Bastille Day.
I think we kind of went with what songs we wanted to do and what the crowd would like.
Yes.
In the end, I mean, I think the biggest thing that's in it for us is like seeing that there's a guy who like you can see in one of the Necromancer videos. We know him very well. He's like a friend, and you can see him at the front of the stage, and he's like just leaning on the stage listening, and like that is what it's all about. That guy who's like he had a long day of work, he can come to the show, and we can take him to Rush La La Land, and it's like therapeutic.
Yeah.
But not to get too far off the subject here, but help me get back to.
So what were the first songs you guys when you guys got together? What were the?
I think Tom Sawyer was one.
Okay.
I believe we did.
Which isn't as easy as people think it is.
Yeah,
most people, myself included.
I'm still not tired of
played
playing
it wrong. I played it wrong for years. I'm sure.
I'm still not tired of playing it though.
Well, yeah, Neil was never tired of playing it.
Yeah,
He always considered it a challenge.
that's what's great about their music is I played that song a trillion times now, and I still like playing it.
Yeah.
They're just fun, clever, cool songs to play. But yeah, I think Tom Sawyer, like Free Will, Limelight, Spirit of Radio, those are some of the first songs.
Yeah.
I think Witch Hunt was another one.
Okay.
But I know that we had someone else who we started when we were first doing rehearsals. We had someone else singing,
Right.
and he was a very good singer, but I think he had too much other stuff on his plate, so he wasn't able to come to a rehearsal. And I was like, hey, do you guys want Julie to come and like just fill in for this? Because she'd done some Rush tunes in the past.
Right.
And so she comes in, sings, and Mike Bitts is like, why don't we just have her sing? And that's how Julie got in the band.
Okay.
But she's just taken it to another level now since then, Like if you hear some of our
Attention to detail and all that, she had it. That was her primary focus.
Yeah. And Julie has actually almost the same exact 4-octave range that Getty has.
Okay.
I think there's a low note on the trees that is just one note below Julie's range, but she actually has really worked on getting that note. She can nail it now. So it's interesting that they have pretty much the exact range.
Okay.
Eddie being a guy though with
Yeah. Well, his voice had to change over years, right?
Or
did it not, range wise?
I think that as you get older, your voice can't handle the rock screaming anymore.
Right.
And you can like really harm your voice. So Getty probably can sing some of that high stuff still, but probably not for a full tour. So he has to go a different route.
Right.
Isn't the guy like 70 something?
At least, yes.
I hope I'm still able to play guitar, when I get to that age. I won't have any more.
He's got to be because, I'm old.
Alex and Getty, I believe, just turned 70 not too long ago.
Okay. So now, so the idea of Alex Lifeson starts off with this kind of like Gibson type guitar, kind of like more like Jimmy Page, and then he goes through the 70s. Eventually, he starts putting classical in it, his stuff. But he throws in acoustic guitars in this his thing. He has the double neck.
Yep.
So how do you guys approach all that stuff?
I just take every song and I try to be authentic to that song, like with the kind of amp he used and the effects. And well, you actually brought up a good point. So sometimes people are like, Eric, because I use this Suhr guitar on stage,
Right?
like kind of It's like a flame maple top and stuff.
Hmm.
It's great guitar, but it's not something that Alex Lifeson used. But the thing people don't get is Alex's Henter Sportscaster, which is like from the moving pictures era and like
Right.
it's basically a super strat. And a
Right.
super strat is a Stratocaster with a humbucker and usually like a Floyd Rose on it.
Right.
I mean, in the 25.5 scale length neck is kind of what gives a strat a lot of the tone
Hmm.
and all those things. But so the Sir is basically a super strat.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it sounds to me pretty darn close to.
That was moving pictures era.
I believe so. He used that even just around that whole
Okay.
like permanent waves, moving pictures, signals,
Okay.
that whole era. It was like a custom built thing. You probably saw Eddie Van Halen also, who put like a humbucker on a Strat like a little bit
Well,
before.
Eddie Van Halen he had a Floyd on his guitar.
I don't know if he had a Floyd yet, but probably he did.
Okay. Okay. So now,
You brought up a good point though, that I wanted to address. You started to notice a change in Rush after that first album because John Rutsey was on the first album, and he was
right.
more basic rock drummer. And then Neil joined, I believe, on Fly By Night, and that's where you started to see Neil started writing the lyrics, so the lyrics started to become
Bitar and the Snow Dog.
yeah,
You
exactly.
guys do that song.
Yeah, and that changed the whole chemistry of the band,
Right.
where they were like, oh, Neil's writing these really imaginative lyrics that bring a picture into your head, and so they were trying to. I think Alex was like, how do I express that in what I'm writing? And then that took them that direction. And then they went maybe a little too far in that direction for Caress of Steel, that album.
Actually, my first record I ever bought was Caress of Steel.
It's actually a great album.
Yeah.
I love that album, and I think a lot of Rush fans now over time have come around to enjoy it, as
Yeah.
part of the catalog. But when that came out, though, I think it was very progressive and very, I don't know how to really describe it, but that was the Down the Tubes tour. But then guess what they did next?
2112.
2112, and
That was their Hail Mary.
Moving Pictures, I think, is what brought them into the general public. Though.
Yeah, yeah, but the 2112, the importance of 2112 was the record label was saying, you got one more chance to do it. And they could have gone two ways. They could have done a record that they thought their record company wanted.
Yeah.
They could say, this is our last chance to do something we want to do. And that's what they did. They did Caress of Steel full out. Like
Yeah.
2012 was a concept album. Okay.
Yeah.
So and it was, as I said, a Hail Mary. It worked.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, and I think 2112 we actually just we first played it in Delaware, but the second time we played it was at Mickey's Black Box, and so like the sheer terror of the moment we start that,
Yeah,
like
of course.
right, we are committed to this for 20 minutes, and I can't, I'm trying not to make a mistake, and
Right.
that's a scary song.
Yeah.
Dude, but it's so awesome though. I think Rush fans enjoy hearing it, and I think Rush fans are some of the few fans that will sit through a live 20-minute song.
Right. Right. The whole record side.
They sat through it.
Right.
So,
Did they sit though? Do Solar Federation fans sit through your performances?
there were some sitting in the balcony, but yeah, the whole
Good.
ground floor was standing.
You're not that much of a nerd band. Because I saw Yes once, and that was that it felt like chamber music.
I think Rush fans seem to really like to stand.
Of course, it's a rock show.
Yeah, that exactly.
Yeah, it's a rock show. Okay, so now this the point, some of the points I want to make also. Your skill set is No, just tell me some of your you. From my perspective, I see you as taking the classical approach to rock guitar and using and applying the classical approach of music. Not necessarily. I'm not talking about classical guitar, but classical performance.
Mindset. Yeah.
Yeah, and approach it in a rock guitar setting. Can you explain some of that? Like, what is your background in that? Am I accurate?
Yeah, yeah, I would definitely say that. You know, I didn't realize it till I was older, but you know, I grew up with in a household where my mom is an opera singer. She had like a master's degree in piano, I believe, in voice. So I grew up watching her practice and doing operas and stuff. So, and classical music was always being played in our house. So I kind of grew up with that. And now that I'm older, you know, I kind of realize that I really enjoy, um, you know, like for a Rush song, I really enjoy actually figuring out how did Alex play it? Like, how did he get the tone for it? You know, where on the guitar neck did he play it? You know, how is he doing this or that? What's he thinking? I love doing that. I was that way with Eddie Van Halen when I was like 13, you know, 14.
Hmm.
So I realize now I think it comes from the classical background I had.
Being exposed to that discipline just
Yeah.
by watching, just being
Well,
being surrounded by it. Go ahead.
when I've kind of been, I may be wrong about this, but it's kind of been dawning on me that last century, we kind of had a musical revolution, which partially I think is based off of, you know, the ease of electronics and, you know, even electricity, you know, because you started to see the electric guitar show up. What was it, like the 20s, 30s, somewhere around there?
Late
Maybe even
30s, 30s, yeah.
yeah, and then it, you know, once I think in jazz is where you really first saw
Charlie Christian,
exactly the
Cleveland
electric
Walker,
guitar. And
those
then
guys,
people
yeah.
got tired of just a clean tone, and they noticed, oh, if I turn my amp up too loud, I get this distortion, and all of that, you know, like even for keyboard, all of most of those genres. I mean, jazz guitar, rock, heavy metal, all those things generated from the newness of the electric guitar.
Right.
You know? And it kind of peaked probably in the 80s, and then in the 90s you started to see it decline. So we kind of had this massive revolution of all this new music that nobody had ever heard before. Nobody had
Right.
ever heard a band like Rush before,
Right.
or
Right.
Led.
Right.
And so now we're in a new century. I think there'll probably be a music revolution this century as well, based off of some other invention or, you know, whatever. But
Let's hope it's a good invention,
yeah,
not like some AI created piece of you know what I
yeah,
mean. Let's hope it's
exactly.
created by humans. That's the only thing.
Well,
And I sound like an old grumpy old man saying this, but that's the stuff that I
you know,
like humans. I like humans creating. That is my line in this stand. That I will fight on that hill.
I hope it doesn't get too far from that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, but you know, I have a friend who he's been in the business for many years and has done all sorts of artwork for different people. He actually embraces AI as another tool to use.
Mhm. Yeah,
You know,
but
so I think it's about adapting. But yeah, I don't want it to take
yeah,
over.
yeah, yeah. In other words, what is happening in somewhere is you can record a hit song that every part of it is AI. Taking AI for certain things, certainly. So now here's a question. I
Hey,
want to
Rob,
go ahead.
I just want to finish up one point though.
Hmm.
Where we are now, and this is where my classical approach comes in, is now we've got this revolution, like this awesome music that was created that a lot of people love. And a guy like me, I want to basically cover that music like orchestras cover Bach.
Exactly.
You know, and I'm covering that to extend the life of it so that
Yes.
the genres in the future can hear it Plus, it's fun, and I like doing
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's the other thing is like there's myself included, and I never saw Rush live.
Oh man, that
Never, yeah,
sucks.
yeah. So I never saw Rush live, but there's lots of like people who were born later, they never saw Rush live. And it's like
Yeah,
these bands are coming back around. It's like songs I'm hearing, even Nirvana is 30 years old.
yeah, I know. Don't remind me.
Right? That's what I'm saying. It's like where Van Halen was like what 46 years old, something like that.
Well, I was born in 1977, and I'm 47.
Yeah.
So I think Van Halen came out in 1978.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's
I'm
the
almost as
definition
old
of
as him.
classical though. Or the
Yeah,
definition of some things are classic. Not everything old is classic.
yeah.
The other thing is what they're finding. I think some kids are finding if it's new to me, it's new. If they discovered it, it doesn't matter if it's necessarily been recorded in 2024. If it's new to me, then it is new music and it's new inspiration for.
Exactly. That's a
So,
great point.
and then the other thing is you can take those influences and combine them with all kinds of newer stuff or whatever, and that's where the interesting combinations of new sounds will come from. Go ahead.
Well, there's a lot more, as time goes on, there's much more females that come to our shows and young kids. Like Rush is very much multi-generational where, I mean, I know tons of moms and dads who are like, they want to bring their kids.
Well,
So they're,
that's a bonding moment too.
yeah,
They want to share
exactly.
that. They want to share that with their kid. This is proper parenting. You have to know who Rush is.
Yes. And the cool thing is the kids love Rush.
Right.
You
Right.
know, it's like they
Yeah.
were ahead of their time
Right.
with their music.
Right. Right. Okay. Question for you about amplifiers.
Yeah.
Do you use the normal? You said you try to get the same amplifiers as Alex. Do you use any modeling amps at all,
Well,
or
yeah,
you
I
just
should
have,
have clarified that a little better.
or do you just take 10 amplifiers with you every time you play? Since every tour is probably a different amp setup or whatever.
I, well, right next to me here, I do have a Sur SL68 with a 412 greenback cab. So I
Okay.
do have a real tube amp that's
Right.
basically like a Marshall Plexi.
Right.
But right here, that's my Kemper Profiler.
Okay.
I love that thing because it I can have every amp that Alex ever used over the years right in there.
Right.
And then, all the effects I need too. And the Kemper Profiler is just an amazing, magical piece
Yes.
of gear. And, for me, I think it feels like a real amp and I think it gets a good sound,
Yeah.
um, for live performance. So,
So that's your stage, one of your main stage tools.
yeah, that's definitely. I don't really use an amp on stage because if I don't have any stage volume, then that gives full control to the sound guys, which
Right.
results in better sound for the audience.
Right.
Also, Rush. That's what Rush does. I mean,
Well,
I
they have
think
the stuff in their monitors, but it doesn't. You don't have that coming out. Yeah. Oh,
if
in
you go
ears.
on stage with Rush, which
Yeah.
I've never been on stage with them, but you could have a conversation because they have in ears, and Alex has his heads in the back, but those all go. There's no stage volume.
Right. Right.
So I'm again, if Rush does it, I'm okay with it.
Right. 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 Right.
But this makes it possible, and also so I don't have to destroy my back carrying around a bunch of gear.
Amen.
In the studio, though, I probably normally wouldn't use the Kemper, though. I would probably want to use a real amp. There's
Okay.
nothing like a real amp, but
I get it. I get it. But I can't afford a $20,000 amp. So I have the Kemper, and you're again you're in and out of it much more than I am because you have 20 amps you have to go
the,
back and forth with.
the only thing I am not crazy about with some of the modelers, like the Fractal, and the Kemper, are there's too many parameters to mess with, and
That's yeah.
I'm too much. I I overthink everything, so I'll drive myself nuts. Like, oh,
Right.
what if I
Okay. Okay. So we're in the same boat there. Yes.
I like simplicity, 3 or 4 knobs, so I can't drive myself nuts.
Right. Okay. Good. Then I don't feel so bad. Feel like a minion here. Okay. So now, okay, you're taking a, okay, let's talk about your practice routine. When I say this, you want to learn a song. What kind of routine do you what do you typically do?
Um, well, there's not necessarily that typical of a thing. I think I've had a decent ear since I was a kid, and I remember doing this book for Greg Howe,
Mhm.
a long time ago, and that got my transcribing skills. I mean, I spent a year on that.
Right.
It really heightened my ability to transcribe, especially guitar, and write it down a lot of times.
Mhm.
So that's kind of extended now to Rush, So, for example, like 2112,
Yeah.
like I'll scour the earth for as much knowledge as possible on every aspect of that song.
Right.
Like, what guitar do I think Alex used? I'll look at live stuff, tabs even. I usually don't need tabs though.
Yeah.
I'll look at him playing it live. I'll look at covers. I research the tone. And it's just a matter of building that song from the beginning. So like, I'll just start out with the intro and I'll master that and then start adding on to that. And then I get the whole song down eventually.
Yeah.
That's kind of just the process. But I mean, 2112 took me, I think, 2-3 months it probably took about a month and a half to transcribe
Okay.
because there's not a lot of, for a lot of those parts, there's nowhere to really look for how it was done or the tone or anything. So I
So
just,
yeah, no reading, and you don't even tab too much, I'm guessing. You
I do write a lot of stuff down, but not for like
you don't
Rush.
get somebody. Well, I'm saying getting other people's tabs.
Yeah.
You would
I
like,
usually don't use other people's because they're usually not correct because Alex is very unconventional with how he does stuff. And so people always like some people will do Tom Sawyer like this. Whereas that's not what he's doing. He's going, and then he plays this weird chord.
that is what I'm saying. Okay, now you show us how the right way to play Tom Sawyer. That part, just do the whole thing.
Sure.
Yeah, yeah.
So we basically got, and then this is just an E major chord, right? And then this chord right here, I would say it generates from that chord,
D sus2 chord.
E sus2. But what he does is he takes the root and moves it up to the 2 here. So it's not, so you have the 2 in 2 places and no root because Geddy's playing the root. So
Right.
that's probably where that chord comes from. So that's right.
Yeah.
And then this is just like I think an A sus4 chord.
Yeah, it's like a Wonderwall chord.
Yeah, I think this is like the 7th.
And yeah, minor seven.
Yeah, that's the minor
A7?
7th. I think it's a
A7
A7
sus4.
sus4.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah. Right.
and then back to that weird chord again, but now it's at the 5th and 3rd fret. Right, so but that chord it fills things out in a really cool way, like or Limelight. So he has this weird chord where you have to like bar
Right.
in a very odd way. And then this chord changes mid arpeggiation. right? So all those things to kind of trick the ear into thinking there's another
That
guitar
almost
player.
sounds like kind of classical guitar
Yeah,
derived.
he studied classical, I think, back. It
Like
must have been,
way early on.
yeah. So he took from somebody in Canada, I believe, for a little while. So
And then he went on tour, and you could never make, but that's kind of a, limelight. Um, the course to limelight is, to me it sounds like classically based kind of a influence.
I think you're correct about that. But that's the amazing thing about him is he has all these really clever ways of making it sound like there's another guitar player there. And if you don't like really try to figure out what he's doing, it doesn't sound quite like him. He's very difficult to capture, like the spirit of his sound, if you know what I mean.
Right. Now his chord playing and his rhythm playing changed throughout the years.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
a
he
lot
used to shred a lot back in like Working Man. He
well, yeah,
shred-
that's him doing his best Jimmy Page kind of
yeah.
early, like, as I said, the Humble Pies, the blues rock stuff of the early '70s.
That stuff's hard though. I mean,
Yeah,
I can play like the Eddie stuff, and that solo's
Johnny Winter, some yeah,
well. Then like later on in like the '80s, he goes more to a melodic kind of thing because I think he said in an interview he found that those kind of solos have a lot more longevity. So like like there's no shredding there. It's just beautiful, melodic, fits the song.
right. It's a
No,
composition.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's part of the composition. So, what
Yes.
do you got coming up with the Solar Federation? What kind of things do you have coming up?
Well, actually, on Friday, April 12th, we're releasing on all streaming platforms our version of Witch Hunt. So for Rushfest Scotland, right? Our good friend Steve, he puts out a compilation album of a bunch of different Rush tribute bands from all over the world. And I think this is going to be the fifth one. And we've been on, I think, two or three now. But he's always had like an affinity, or he really likes how Julie does Witch Hunt because she
Okay.
holds this long note.
Hmm.
It's a cool song,
Yeah.
So he was like, you guys got to put her on this one. So that made me go, I think we need to go into the studio for this.
Right.
And then, of course, Terry Brown and Hugh Syme have worked on some of these.
The classic Rush that I remember.
Well, but they've worked on some of the compilations, that in Rush themselves, like, and people affiliated with them, they love charity and they love to like donate their time for charity.
Right.
Wow. So they would donate their time for this. And I was like, I got to ask them
Okay.
if they can collaborate on this. And they said yes.
That's wonderful.
So Hugh actually, when it's going to be premiered on Glenn Hamilton's radio show on Friday, I think in the morning. The information's on our website, and then I think the next day on one of his other shows, and then it'll be on streaming platforms. But I always remember. Wait, I lost my train of thought. Crap.
Okay. Things that are happening with Solar Federation.
So basically, I asked if they'd be interested, and they said yes. And Hugh basically did the whole intro. So like when you listen to the track, the whole intro, like the mob and everything, Hugh created that
Okay.
on like synthesizer, or I think it's a
Now,
fair.
who is Hugh? What was his importance in Rush?
Hugh Syme basically he played keyboards on the original Witch Hunt, and I think he also played on different strings and maybe tears. So
Okay.
one of the things he still does actually is he does the album covers for them.
Okay.
So like, I don't think Fly By Night, but starting with Caress of Steel, he's
Okay.
done all their album covers, I believe.
Okay.
And like he did the White Snake album cover, the one with
Okay.
the album,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
so he's worked with Rush and pretty close quarters for many years and still
Right.
does.
Crest of Steel was album number 3, so that was like probably what, 1975,
Yes,
76, 75, something.
I think so. So
Yeah.
he's worked with them for a long time. But the cool thing about it is he played the keys on the original.
Okay, that's I see that I didn't know.
Yeah, so like it
I always,
was.
I always thought that everything on a Rush album was Rush.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm sure Getty now can play some of that stuff, but it's in the liner notes, I believe.
Yeah.
But back then, I think there's a couple things here and there where, you know, maybe Hugh or someone else did it, or like Closer to the Heart wasn't actually, I believe, written by Rush. I think some guy in Pennsylvania wrote either the lyrics or the music first, and then brought it to Rush, and then they loved it.
I never see these are like tidbits I never heard. I didn't know this.
You think I know anything? Like, wait till you hear
This is what Fedge has done to you.
Edge. Like, he's got a vast amount of
Yeah.
knowledge.
Yeah.
So, but just to have Hugh play on this song
Yeah.
was really cool because of the fact that he was on the original one. So, but this song is just that note that Julie holds is really cool. And well, and then not to get off track here, but so Terry Brown, he pretty much did, I think, Fly By Night all the way to Signals with Rush. So he mixed the track.
Okay.
And I mean, he's a legend for a reason. I mean, he did it. Those two guys did such an amazing job. They're who they are because they're very talented.
Yes. If you know nothing about Terry Brown other than Rush, his legacy is firmly there.
But he also had
Sure, he's done a lot of stuff, but
he produced the hit "I Just Died in Your Arms Tonight" by, I think it's the Wrecking Crew,
okay.
#1 hit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like just an honor to work with them for
I bet.
the compilation.
The other thing we got to talk a little bit about. You played one of Neil's one of Neil's concerts. Can you explain that a little bit?
Are you talking about A Night for Neil?
Yes.
Well, we that was really cool and terrifying.
Of course it was. Explain. What is it? What was it?
Well, Overtime Angels is a charity, and they still exist, and they're a good charity. And they basically, I don't know all the backstory in this, but they were asked to basically help put together, in a charitable sense, a night for Neil. So Neil's memorial, and Neil's family is involved in this. So it was pretty legit in that way. It wasn't just like a fan thing that got put together. Like, there was, the family was involved. So basically, we had known them for a while, Overtime Angels, the charity, and they asked us if we wanted to headline, and we're like, yeah.
Of course.
And so, the messed up thing about it originally was, I think it was May 2020, or maybe April, was when it was originally scheduled for, and then COVID happened.
Of course.
And so it kept getting pushed forward, but eventually happened, I believe, in May 2022, was it? Or 21? It was somewhere around there.
Yeah.
I must be getting old when I can't keep track of time. But
Years, yeah.
so it eventually happened, and it was like at the Meridian Center in Canada, in St. Catharines. which is right by Lakeside Park. It's where Neil grew up.
Right.
And, I think about 5,000, 5,500 people fit in there. It's like a hockey arena.
Okay.
So we basically travel up for this, and we're supposed to play about an hour. And we get in there that day, and I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Just the vastness of the seats in that arena. And then this huge, I've never played on a stage that had that huge of production. I mean, it was like a legitimate stage you'd see for like a massive tour.
Right.
And the lighting. And so I was like, oh my God. So then, that night we played the show, and there was like about 4,500 people were there. And it was just incredible and scary too. But one of the cool things about the memorial is it kind of really remained about Neil, and it wasn't this glamorous, glitzy thing. It was, all the musicians, donated their time and, played really well and kept it about Neil.
Yeah.
And I think it meant a lot to Neil's family to see that and to have all these people honor him. And like there was a candle lighting thing. It was just a very cool night.
Kind of solemn, like a solemn, respectful.
Yeah.
He is one of the more interesting figures, probably, if you want to say rock, in that he didn't fall into any of that stuff that everybody else does. Like he was reading books. He was doing all kinds of stuff that was like I'm not going to be put on a pedestal like a rock star. Constantly improving himself, reinvented himself.
Yeah, and I think he was standoffish because he didn't like people adoring him as like a rock star. I think you really saw that night how many people's lives he touched, and like how much his lyrics and drumming and music and everything he was meant to all those fans, because his lyrics, I think, got like Subdivisions, I think got a lot of people through high school.
I will tell you that's my favorite Rush tune.
Yeah.
Because of those words.
Yeah.
Because of those words. Because I'm not, like when I was in high school, I wasn't all about like all the mythology and all that kind of stuff, but I could understand Subdivisions.
Well, Julie, basically memorizes all the lyrics.
Yeah.
I don't know how she does it. I can't do what she does, but when you memorize lyrics, you really internalize them. And Julie, she's really like blown away by the depth of a lot of his lyrics. I mean, and especially as he got older, like even the Hold Your Fire album, those lyrics are incredible. And I mean, it's just, he left that catalog for people to enjoy. And even like Witch Hunt, Words of Wisdom,
Right.
The Pass, it's about people, taking their own life, and he just an incredible intellect and musician and person.
Subdivisions had heart to it.
Yeah.
Because I remember where I was. See, I'm 55 years old. I was in York Suburban High School auditorium the first time I heard the lyrics to Subdivisions.
Yeah.
Play through a loudspeaker, and I identified with everything that was being said there.
Yeah.
It's like yes. So where can people go ahead?
Side note, Rob,
Yeah.
is I've heard both Eddie Van Halen and I think Neil in the interviews talk about how they relentlessly got picked on in high school.
Yeah.
So I think
I can't imagine Eddie.
Oh yeah, he could barely speak any English and had a lot of anxiety.
Yeah.
They just moved, and he got picked on a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So CPMAs.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys got for outside people, the CPMA, Central Pennsylvania Music Hall of Fame. You got rewarded for this. To me, I don't. Yeah.
Well,
As I said you're humble about it, and I appreciate that. But there's nobody who puts your effort into it. There is no number two, because you do, as I said, you do what you do to the highest level. Nobody else cares as much. Nobody else does it full time, like you guys do. It is your primary focus.
yeah.
So you getting that. It's nice, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, we got the first one. What did I say? Like 2022, I think it was, or
Okay.
20. Yeah, I think it was 2022.
Yeah.
We were nominated and then got the best tribute band, and
Right.
then we didn't win the next year, but this year we won again, and that was really nice. And you know, I mainly appreciate that Brandon Valentine, who basically
Absolutely.
put this whole the CPMA, the
Central Pennsylvania Music Hall of Fame, Jersey.
Hall of Fame together. Yes,
Jersey boy.
yeah. It sounds like I mean, it has to be a labor of love because
Yeah.
I doubt you can make a gazillion dollars off of something like
Yeah.
that. So he,
Brought a community together that night. It's like,
yeah,
I don't even know the numbers of thousands of people that were there,
yeah,
all because of music. Music is
yeah.
the bond, as uh,
I like the win, but when I go to that, it. I'm okay if I don't win.
Yeah,
You know, there's a lot of other great people who play great and
Mhm.
deserve to win, and um, I to me, it's more about the community aspect and just
Right.
everybody coming together. Even if you're nominated, your name's getting in front of a bunch of people, and it's
Right.
helping the community, and it's
Right.
helping to bring more awareness to the music community of Central PA. So
Yes.
I don't. Some people think those things are a popularity contest, and
It's kind of scarcity mindset too. Also, it's like, yeah, support
I
each other.
don't. I like it. I think it's
Yeah,
great.
support each other. It's like, I want you to win.
Yeah, even if I don't win, I think
Yeah,
it's
even if yeah,
yeah. You get to see. I get to see people that I haven't seen for a while because I'm in New Jersey.
right,
So
right.
I really enjoy that whole thing and that he puts it together, and it's much appreciated,
Absolutely.
and it's cool to win though.
Oh yes, yes. Next year, maybe. I got edged out this year, but whatever.
I'll vote for you.
CPMAs. Okay, so where can people get in touch with you? You do some teaching? You do some teaching, and it's like it's your style, like that classical thing. As I said, you're the best at what you do. In that way, it's like that people want to learn how to do it. I don't know of anybody who's better, honestly. And I'm not blowing sunshine because you're not paying me. You know what I mean? There's yeah,
Well, when I go to teach people, though, I try to look at who they are and what their needs are and where their
yeah.
passions are, and I don't necessarily try to teach them at what I like to do or what I'm
All
good
right,
at.
of course.
Yeah, but I try to with my students. Everybody's different. Some people they are doing it for like a therapeutic enjoyment, and I'm not going to push them to sight read.
Right,
you know,
right.
other people who are like hardcore, I will, but I just try to give people a good diverse base of like education. So like
Yes.
some music theory, rhythmic training, understanding the mechanics of the guitar, like scales and
Mhm.
arpeggios, chords, and then we spend time like memorizing solos and songs, and I think that's a big part of how people learn.
Right. Imitation
Yeah, Eddie Van Halen learned all of Eric Clapton's stuff from Cream.
and blues breakers too. Yeah, the blues breakers, cream area. Yeah.
Yeah, and Eddie doesn't sound like Clapton, but
Oh, but that's how
that
you got to. That's how you got to start.
yeah teaches
Oh,
you. You
my
know,
feeling is, that should be a part of everybody's musical diet, is to learn some of that. Have
yeah, exactly.
some of the classical approaches, like learning how to do some note for noting, because it gives you vocabulary.
Well, I do. I'm like, I put a lot of time into more of the classical approach, but I definitely can improvise and do that kind of stuff.
Yes.
I actually would like to spend sometime in the future more time pursuing that as well. I don't want to just
Okay.
only do like
Yeah, yeah.
memorizing other
So,
people's stuff.
so how do people get in touch with you?
Um, you could just go to, well, you could just email me, Eric at ericwirsing.com.
Which we'll have in the description. We will have in the description. We'll put all your contact, and then you're also on Facebook.
Yeah, you could message me on Facebook. I teach mainly virtually at this
Yes.
point, just because, you
Yes.
know,
Of course.
people are all over the place. But
Right. Right.
it actually seems, I think there's nothing like being in person, but it seems to work well for a lot of people to do virtual. I'm sure you've seen that.
Absolutely.
There's still nothing like in person, but
Yeah, yeah. But I also like teaching people from Texas and California and
yeah.
in
Well, I
Georgia.
put a lot of time in the Solar Federation now, but I do teach a little bit still. So
Yeah, yeah. Alrighty.
yeah.
Alrighty. Thank you, Eric.
Yeah,
Thank you,
man.
Eric. And we're gonna do this again. We'll find another. Go ahead.
Don't forget, we're going to be playing at uh, uh, River Street Jazz Cafe in May.
Okay.
Then also at the Inglewood, we're going to announce that date very soon. But
That's Hershey. This Friday is Witch Hunt on
yes,
Spotify.
Friday Witch Hunt. Yep. But everybody can go to our website, solarfederationband.com, and all the information you'd ever need or wouldn't need is on there.
Alrighty. Thanks so much.